Each of us has at least once in our lives wondered, could this complex and astonishing world have come into being? By chance, the stars in the night sky, the orderly change of seasons, the incredible precision with which our bodies function. All of this seems too perfect to be the result of mere chance. Even the most dedicated materialists, who have devoted their lives to science, eventually come to the realization that there is something greater behind it all. Perhaps a higher power, but what if? The answer to this question is much deeper than we can imagine. Today we will tell you about a remarkable discovery made by a French scientist known as Allan Kardec as early as the 19th century. His research caused a sensation, prompting many to see the world in an entirely new light. Let us dive into this story to unveil the mystery together. Allan Kardec, whose real name was Hippolyte Léon Denisard Rival, was born on October 3, 1804 in Paris. For the first 40 years of his life, there was nothing particularly notable about him. He was a scientist, philosopher, and educator dedicated to teaching. But everything changed when he, unexpectedly, became intrigued by the mysteries surrounding telekinesis and unexplained phenomena. At that time, rumors were spreading across Europe about strange events, tables moving without being touched, mysterious sounds, and most astonishingly, messages purportedly from deceased individuals. Many dismissed these occurrences as mere superstitions. But Kardec, being a man of science, decided to observe these phenomena himself. He attended demonstrations and began conducting his own experiments. Initially, he was skeptical, but everything changed during one of the seances when, as he claimed, he made contact with entities he described as astral beings. These entities not only proved their intelligence, but also revealed something extraordinary to him. According to them, in one of his past lives, he was a druid and bore the name Allan Kardec. This name became his pseudonym and the symbol of a new chapter in his life. From that moment on, the scientist devoted himself entirely to studying the metaphysical nature of existence. His research resulted in numerous works, the most significant of which was the Spirit's Book. It was referred to as the Bible of Spiritualism and remains a pivotal text for those interested in questions of the soul and the existence of God. Kardec believed that the world was not a result of chance, but was governed by a higher intelligence that could be called God. To explain his position, he provided a simple yet highly compelling example. Imagine you have a watch that keeps precise time. Would you call this watch intelligent? Of course not, but if there is a watch, there must also be a watchmaker who created it. Someone who understands how the mechanisms work and can assemble them into a coherent whole. In the same way, according to Kardec, our universe itself is proof of the existence of a higher intelligence. We do not see the Creator, but His works. This complex and harmonious world speak for themselves. Let us pause for a moment and ask ourselves, if everything is so orderly, who could be the cause of this order? Kardec asserted that the axiom, "there is no effect without a cause," applies here as well. If we see an action, there must be a cause behind it. For example, if a bird is struck by an arrow and falls to the ground, we understand that this did not happen by chance. Someone fired the arrow even if we do not see the archer. This very logic, according to Kardec, proves the existence of a higher intelligence. Those who deny this contradict the very foundation of science. For science is always searching for the causes of phenomena. But Allan Kardec did not limit himself to logical reasoning and philosophy. He also drew attention to the fact that every human being is born with an intuitive sense of the existence of something greater. This feeling does not arise from education or cultural traditions. It is deep and intrinsic. Even peoples who have never interacted with each other have, in their beliefs, come to recognize the presence of a higher power. Isn't it remarkable that all cultures, regardless of geographical location, time period, or historical context, have created myths and religions rooted in the belief in something greater? For Kardec, this was yet another proof of the existence of a single source that unites all of humanity. He emphasized that everything in the world is governed by specific laws that cannot be explained by chance. Chance, he argued, is blind, cannot act with intelligence. If we begin to speak of intelligent chance, it ceases to be chance and becomes the manifestation of a higher intelligence. To better explain his perspective, Kardec invited people to reflect on the design of nature. Look at the growing trees. the rivers flowing with purpose, and the intricate systems that sustain life on our planet. Every mechanism, every detail of this vast picture fits perfectly into a grand design. But most importantly, Kardec believed that Earth is not the only place where life exists. He asserted that the universe is infinite, filled with countless worlds, both visible and invisible. To him, it was obvious that a higher intelligence does not remain idle. God creates and sustains these worlds, each of which is unique and intended for specific forms of life. In his writings, Kardec argued that believing the entire universe was created solely for our amusement is an expression of arrogance. This idea, in his opinion, often leads to disbelief. Arrogance blinds people to greatness beyond themselves. Those who consider themselves exceptional often deny God because they refuse to acknowledge something greater than themselves. Yet for those willing to contemplate the harmony of the world and their role within it, Kardec's discoveries could be an essential step toward understanding. After all, if you believe that everything in your life is not random, perhaps you are already on the path to something greater. Kardec encouraged everyone who doubted to start with something simple. Take a closer look at the world around you. Notice its beauty, complexity, and patterns. Try asking yourself what lies behind all of this. The answer may come to you unexpectedly. Allan Kardec often repeated, "Nothing in the world is accidental." For him, this statement was not just a philosophical belief, but a foundation for profound reflections on the role each of us plays in the universe. He asserted that our lives are but a small part of a grand design that cannot be fully explained through conventional logic or science. According to Kardec, every individual has a mission, a unique path. We do not merely exist. We are integral parts of a vast chain where everything is interconnected. This understanding helped Kardec convince others that our existence has meaning. If each of our lives were purely random, how could we explain the profound sense of responsibility we feel for our actions and choices? Kardec also placed great emphasis on the concept of multiple worlds. He believed the universe is too vast and intricate to be intended solely for humanity. In his writings, he proposed that the cosmos contains countless planets and dimensions, each harboring life. This life, he suggested, could be entirely different from what we know. These ideas seemed ahead of their time. Yet for Kardec, they were a logical extension of his philosophy. If God created our world, why couldn't he create others? After all, the higher intelligence, as the scholar asserted, never remains idle. Every world is created with a purpose, and every life within it has significance. What mattered most to Kardec was not just the theory, but inspiring people to reflect on their role in this grand system. In one of his works, he wrote, "If you doubt the existence of a higher intelligence, examine your actions. Ask yourself, are you living as nature intended, or are you acting against its laws?" For Kardec, spiritual growth was inseparable from understanding the world. He believed that recognizing the harmony of the universe and its laws helps us become better. And these were not just empty words. Many of his contemporaries claim that his ideas inspire them to reevaluate their lives and seek deeper meaning in everyday things. Another crucial aspect of his teachings was his call for people to abandon pride. For Kardec, pride was the root of disbelief and the cause of many human misfortunes. A person who denies the existence of a higher intelligence denies themselves as well. He wrote, "Pride blinds us to the truth and prevents us from understanding that we are part of something greater." He explained it this way: if a person refuses to acknowledge that there is something greater than themselves, they sever their connection to that higher power. They become like a tree without roots, unable to survive a storm. Despite his strong convictions, Kardec never sought to impose his views. His books and lectures were always invitations to reflection, not calls for blind faith. He often said, "Do not take my word for it. Look around, think, and you will find the answers yourself." Perhaps it was this approach that made his teaching so popular. People felt that Kardec was not trying to convince them. Instead, he invited them to see the world from a different perspective and ask themselves questions they had never considered before. The teachings of Allan Kardec opened extraordinary perspectives for people. His ideas about each individual having a purpose and our lives being part of a greater plan helped many find meaning. Kardec asserted that the key to harmony lies in understanding one's role in this world. Many of his contemporaries noted that studying Kardec's works brought them peace and confidence. For the first time, for those who felt lost, His philosophy became a guiding thread, the realization that we are not alone in this world, and that a higher intelligence capable of guiding us exists, offered hope. Kardec also emphasized the intuitive sense present in each of us. He believed that our connection to the higher intelligence manifests in moments when we instinctively feel the rightness or wrongness of our actions. According to him, this inner sense cannot be explained through logic or upbringing. It is inherent, a fundamental part of our being. In his writings, Kardec described numerous examples supporting his theories. One of these examples involved so-called inner voices that people sometimes hear during moments of intense emotion or critical decisions. He believed this was nothing less than the manifestation of the higher intelligence, attempting to guide us. However, Kardec's ideas shone most vividly through examples from nature. He often said that everything around us, from majestic mountains to tiny grains of sand, is part of a unified plan. For instance, he pointed to the complexity and harmony of ecosystems, where every creature, no matter how small, plays a vital role. This, he argued, could not be the result of mere chance. One of the most intriguing aspects of his teachings was his assertion that pure chance is impossible. Chance is blind, he said. It cannot create anything complex or orderly. Everything we see around us is the result of actions directed by the higher intelligence that governs this world. His analogy of a watch that cannot exist without a watchmaker resonated with many people. Found this simple, yet relatable metaphor effective in understanding the essence of his philosophy. If such a complex mechanism as a watch requires a master, how could the vast and intricately precise universe come into being on its own? But Kardec went further. He argued that the higher intelligence not only created the world, but continues to participate in its development. To him, God was not a passive observer, but an active creator who helps us find our path. These ideas were reflected in his books, which quickly gained popularity. The Spirit's Book and other works by Kardec inspired people worldwide. He often received letters from readers, thanking him for ideas that helped them overcome difficulties and find faith in themselves and the higher power. Despite all this, Kardec never sought fame. He saw his mission as serving humanity and believed his ideas should inspire rather than compel. His approach was gentle and respectful. He did not demand blind faith, but invited people to reflect and find their own answers. Allan Kardec always emphasized that faith in a higher intelligence and understanding one's connection to it is merely the beginning of the journey. To truly approach harmony, a person must learn to live in accordance with the laws of nature and the universe. He believed these laws are simple, but must be consciously recognized and applied in daily life. One of the principles Kardec frequently mentioned was humility. He believed that only a humble person could understand their place in the world and recognize the greatness of what surrounds them. Pride, on the other hand, blinds us to the truth. A person who places themselves above the laws of nature inevitably works against them. He wrote, Kardec also spoke about the importance of acceptance. He argued that much suffering arises because people refuse to accept the natural course of events. We resist change, fight the inevitable, and exhaust ourselves in the process. However, once we learn to see the meaning in what happens to us, suffering dissipates. These ideas were reflected not only in his books, but also in his personal life. Contemporaries described Kardec as a man who always remained calm and confident even in difficult situations. His faith in the higher intelligence and the laws of the universe helped him overcome challenges and inspired others. The most critical point he stressed was that every individual is responsible for their own life. He often repeated that destiny is not something predetermined, but rather the sum of our choices and actions. In his view, the higher intelligence granted us free will, so that we could build our own lives. For Kardec, this freedom was a manifestation of God's true love for humanity. Without it, our lives would become a pre-written script. Instead, we are given reason, intuition, and the ability to learn from our mistakes. One of Kardec's key ideas was that everything that happens to us has meaning. Even the most challenging trials, he believed, are given to make us stronger, wiser, and closer to the truth. He often said every obstacle is an opportunity to learn more about ourselves, the world, and our connection to it. Kardec believed the universe cares for each of us. This care is evident not only in the harmony of nature, but also In the fact that we always have the ability to choose the right path. We can turn to our inner voice, our intuition, and find answers to all questions. It was important to him that people understood they are not alone. In this world, the higher intelligence is always near. Even if we cannot see it, all we need to do is pause, listen, and allow ourselves to feel this connection. In one of his works, Kardec wrote, "If you have doubts, simply step outside. Look at the stars, breathe in the fresh air. Feel the warmth of the sun on your skin. These are the proofs that the higher intelligence cares for us. They are everywhere, you just need to open your eyes." His teachings inspired thousands. And this inspiration was not confined to the 19th century. Even today, many find answers to their questions in his ideas. At the conclusion of his reflections, Allan Kardec always returned to a simple yet essential principle. Everything begins with awareness. We often seek answers outside ourselves, in books, teachers, science, or even mysticism. But Kardec asserted that the most important answers are already within us. All we need to do is learn to listen to ourselves and the world around us. His works encouraged people to ask themselves questions that previously seemed uncomfortable or even frightening. What does it mean to be part of something greater? How can we accept our weaknesses and mistakes as lessons? How can we stop struggling against the world and begin moving in harmony with it? Kardec believed that understanding one's role in the universe transforms a person. It provides the strength to face any difficulty and grants access to true joy. The realization that we are not mere random particles, but parts of a vast and intricate design, fills life with purpose and meaning. He often emphasized that every individual is unique and irreplaceable. Each of us has a mission, even if it may seem insignificant to us. Perhaps your mission is to inspire others through your example. Perhaps you are destined to change someone's life with a kind word. Or maybe your role is simply to live in harmony with yourself, showing others that it is possible. Kardec's philosophy remained open to interpretation. He did not offer ready-made answers or demand that others follow his path. Instead, he invited people to find their own place in this world, drawing from their own experiences and intuition. Kardec was certain that the world is full of signs, guiding us along the right path. These signs can appear anywhere in nature, in unexpected encounters, or in events that initially seem coincidental. All that is required is to learn how to notice them and trust in their guidance. His message was simple: open your heart. Accept the world as it is. You will feel how the higher intelligence guides you. In conclusion, the ideas of Allan Kardec remain relevant today. They help people overcome life's difficulties, find meaning in the everyday, and feel part of something greater. If you believe that everything in your life happens for a reason, take a moment to pause and observe the world around you. Discover the beauty in the simplest things. Reflect on your role in this universe. Perhaps you too will feel the connection that Kardec described. If this story has given you pause for thought, share your reflections in the comments. Write about how you understand the meaning of your life. Every perspective is unique, and your experience might inspire someone else. Thank you for being with us. May this day bring you peace, clarity, and inspiration.